All right, so fractions to tax of dollars, assignment 1. Talk about payroll taxes. So payroll taxes are taxes paid on the wages and salaries of our employees. There's two things that are always going to be paid, whether you are going to end up paying federal tax or not. That's Social Security and Medicare, right? When we look at this is broken down to the employees portion and the employees portion. Both those are the same. So it doesn't matter. The only time it's different is if you're self-employed. So we're going to start with Dynasty. Dynasty is an employee of Swifty Car Wash. So the biggest thing right now to understand is that she is an employee. Right? Her annual salary is $114,800. So she has $114,800. That's her salary. Right? How much will she pay in Social Security for the year? Well, you have to make sure you look at Social Security for the employee. The most common mistake I saw, a lot of people are using 12.4, a lot of people are using 15.3, a lot of people are using 7.65. Right? So I'm going to multiply by 6.2%. So I'm going to multiply by 0.062. Why 0.62? Because 6.2 percentage is that as a decimal. When we multiply that, we're going to multiply as decimal. So when I multiply that, I end up with $7,107.60. Remember, I have dollars and cents signs, right? I put it in red because it's just money she's got to pay. Now, how much will Swifty, so that's the employer, we're looking at employer now, how much they contribute for Medicare? So I'm doing 1.45, right? So I do the exact same thing. I'm still taking the same amount of money, 114,800. I have dollar sign. It's money. Multiply it by, this time I'm going to do 0.0145. Well, why? Because 1.45 is the percent, and I change that into a decimal. So I just type that in my calculator, or you do it by hand if you really want to. 114,800 times 0.0145. You should end up with $1,664.60. I did see a lot of mistakes where people are forgetting to put this last zero here at the end. Since we're talking about money, we are going to put that zero there. So that's it. All right, now we're going to talk about our friend Nolan. Nolan works part-time at a movie theater. So that means he has an employer. That means he's going to be paying the tax, the 7.65% total. So since he will be paying 7.65%. So if he works 20 hours over the course of the first 2 weeks, how much do you expect to have taken out for payroll taxes? This is only counting Social Security and Medicare. So he makes $10 an hour. He's going to multiply that by 20. He's going to end up with $202 on his first paycheck. Now Nolan, remember, he gets 0.0765, because remember, that is 7.65 as a percent. So we're going to multiply those together. So what does he owe? He owes $15.45. Now, I'm not going to subtract that from 202 because that's not what the question asks. Remember, this section is really big on understanding reading comprehension because the math is relatively easy. So, second half of February, he works 27 hours. So I'm going to do 27 times 10 times 10, 10. Right. So 27 times 10, 10. He made $272.70. So he has $272.70 for his paycheck. Right. Other than payroll taxes, he doesn't have any other money withheld. So that means that's all he's going to take home everything except what he owes for payroll taxes. So we're going to do 272.70 times 0.0765. I end up with $20.86. So I'm multiplying that. Remember, multiplying that. by 0.0765. I end up with he's going to owe $20.86. Now remember, in this question, they want to say how much can he expect his take home to be. So I have to take the 272. I'm going to minus the 2086. And I'm going to end up with his take-home pay to be $251.84. So it would be $251.84. Done. That's it. Now we're back to talking about Dynasty. Dynasty is also has a self-employed side job. So whenever you're self-employed, you have to pay both the employee and the employer side. So everything jumps to 50.3%. So she has $795. I'm going to multiply that by 0.153. Why? Because that is 15.3 as a percent. Remember, you changed your decimal. So I multiply that. 795 times 0.153. I end up with $121.64. So she owes $121.64. I always round to two decimal places with this, right? Because we don't want money, we'll always round to two decimal places, and the government's going to want their extra half a cent. All right. Now, what she found out is that she doesn't have to pay money on her total. That's the total revenue, right? She can deduct the cost. So she could take off this $82. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do $795, $82. We're going to subtract it. And we're going to end up with a profit of $713. That's her new tax rate. So I'm going to do that times 0.0765, or by 0.153, because she's still, even though she took a deduction, she's still self-employed. So we end up with $54.54. All right, this is the receipt. So remember, we're talking about sales tax. Remember, in Ohio, grocery is not taxed. So this subtotal, we need to remove non-tax items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these items right here, I'm going to add them up. Those items are going to be $17.62. So to find out what my tax rate is going to be, my sales tax, is I'm going to take this 255 right here. I'm going to do 255.64. I'm going to subtract my 1762. So I do 1764 minus 1762. I was 255.74, not 64. So I subtract that, I end up with 238.12. That is what I pay tax on. All right, so that's my tax rate. When I do that, I'm going to do 238.12 times. So I'm going to do 238.12. I'm going to multiply it by 0.0675. Why? Because that's the tax rate in Ohio. Right? So I do that. And that's going to give you about $16.07. So that is what would go right here. Now the biggest mistake I saw when we did the total is we didn't add it up to our subtotal. We added up to 238.12. You still have to pay for your groceries. So your total is you have to pay for your groceries, 1762. You have to pay for your non-groceries, 238.12, and you have to add your tax in. So it's 255.74 plus 1607. And that's going to give you 271.81. And these are going to go, the red writing here, that's going to go on the next page. That's going to go on the next page. I just put it there so you could see where it would go in a receipt. All right. All right, so remember this is supposed to say OH, not MIA. I forgot to change that. We did that. We did 238.12, remember as a non-tax. We times it by 0.0675, and we got our tax rate of $16.07. All right. Now the total bill, we added that in, and we got $271.81. So we did 255.74 plus our tax rate 1607. We ended up with 271.81. That was the total. Remember, dollars and bills. So we're talking about money, so we need the dollar sign. Now, the total bill sales taxes, remember, he didn't pay 6.75% on everything because he has some non-taxable items. So to find our total bill tax, or percent of total bills, we're going to do 16.07 all over our total, 271.81. Right? I do that. I get about, so I'm going to use the approximate symbol, 0.059. We'll say that's fine. We'll add if we want to do that. So, which is going to be, that's not a percent. So we said percent, it means multiply by 100 to get my percent. So it's going to be 5.91%. Right. Now the next ones are trying to get you to understand, how does sales tax affect different people based on how much money they make, right? So this is how much they make per paycheck. So if that was your paycheck, in this bill, your paycheck was way less significant than if your paycheck all right. So what happens is people begin to argue that sales tax is not a fair tax because if you don't have a lot of money, it affects you at a greater concept. So when you made $3,577 per paycheck, this only accounted for 0.0449, which is, remember, as a percent, 0.449%, not even a half of 1%. Whereas now our paycheck, it's approximately 0.011, which as a percent is 1.1%. That's over twice as much, right? So number 6 says, while income taxes scale differently based on how much you earn, sales tax rate of church, which is of much of their household. Explain how the sales tax system impacts the personal finances of households differently. So some people say it is unfair because poorer people pay larger percentage of their income. Now, the counter to that is rich people are going to say that, well, when rich people spend more money, so they pay more in sales tax in the long run too. So there are arguments both sides of that story, both sides of that. All right, 5 states in the country, Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon, do not charge any sales tax on purchases, which means the residents of these states will pay less at the checkout counter than consumers will in other states. Dustin buys a $325 lawnmower in Delaware. His cousin Nina buys the same model in New Jersey, where its sales tax is 6.625%. Calculating that out of the total cost of the item. So what will Nina pay? Well, Nina's going to pay, she's going to pay $325. We're going to multiply that by our tax, which is 0.06625. Remember, because that as a percent. All right, so I'm going to do that. So that is equal to $21.53. Now I'm going to add that to 325. So I'm going to end up with, her total bill is now going to be $346.53. Now their third cousin, Moses, he lives in Missouri. Well, Missouri, he's got to pay all these different taxes. So that's kind of a pain. He's got to pay 4.225, 1.25, 3.25, 0.25. You're going to add all those together. So I'm going to add 4.225 plus 1.25 plus 3.25 plus 0.125 together. And I'm going to get 8.85%. Now remember, as a decimal, that's 0.0885. So to find our tax, we're going to do $325 for the lawnmower. We're going to multiply that by 0.0885. So we're going to find out that he's got to pay $28.76 in taxes. Now, when he adds that to our 325, he's going to pay $353.76. So his total is going to be $353.76. Don't forget your dollar sign. Well, Moses gets the idea that he should drive to Delaware to buy the lawnmower so that he can save all this tax money. But he realizes he'll need to pay for round-trip gas between his hometown and Kansas City and Destin's hometown in Dover, 1,142 miles away. So he's 1,142 miles away. So 1,142 miles away. Now, if you're not sure how to do this, whether you should divide by 23 or whatnot, the easiest way I think about it is we want to multiply and we want the miles to go away. So that means I want gallons on top. So he gets 1 gallon for every 23 miles. Remember, this is the conversion, like the blue writing is like the conversion rating. But I want miles to cancel out. So that's how I know when I write this in the next line, it's going to be 1,142 divided by 23 will tell him how many gallons he needs. So that's how many gallons he's going to need. So when I do that, we're going to end up with about 49.65. That's just there, all right? And I'm not even going to go too far with this because we could double this, right? So really he needs 100 gallons. But 100 gallons is going to be $330. That's as much. So he would pay as much in gas as the lawnmower. So I think he's losing about $300. 300, yeah, he's losing about $300 because he's losing $300 to save 30. So it seems kind of silly. All right, given the idea by Moses, Nina's wondering if she should travel from her home in Edison to Dustin's house in Dover to purchase lawnmower there. They're only 144 miles apart. And she's got a hybrid vehicle that manages 54 miles per gallon. Is the round trip worth it for her? Well, so same thing. We're going to do 144 miles. Now remember, she's going to get 1 gallon for every 54 miles. That's why so I'm going to divide by 54 because I want the miles to go away. So that's going to be 2.67 about, I'm rounding, gallons of gas. Now when I multiply that by 330, all right, we get it's going to cost her about $8.80 in gas. Well, that's less than her tax, right? her tax was like it was around $21. So it is less than her tax. All right. So it could be worth it. It could be worth it. When deciding whether it's worthwhile to drive across state lines to avoid sales tax, what factors other than cost of gas should Moses need to consider? How about gas mileage while towing, right? If it's a big lawnmower, I don't think this is a big lawnmower, but if it was, right, they might have to get a trailer to tow it, and that will decrease your gas mileage. How about this? Is it legal? Right? You better make sure it's okay for you to do that. Sometimes you technically still have to pay the tax, right? So then you're kind of breaking the law, because a lot of times when you do your taxes, they'll ask you if you bought stuff outside of the state, right? Maybe can Nina's car or hybrid fit the mower? I think I saw this on some people's, right? Speeding tickets, other violations. A lot of times when you go to a new place, you're not aware of the laws, and maybe you get a cop speeding or something like that. There's a bunch of reasons why. So, interesting concept to begin there. That should finish this whole thing.